Halloween, a night of eerie excitement, strange traditions, and spooky celebrations. But how did it all begin? And what are the surprising facts behind the costumes, the pumpkins, and the haunted stories that fill the air? From ancient rituals to modern-day trick-or-treating, Halloween is more than just ghostly fun. It's a festival that has evolved over centuries, blending cultures, myths, and legends into the spooky celebration we know today. Let's dive into some hauntingly cool facts about Halloween that might just make you see the holiday in a whole new light. Today, in Atlas Cove, we're doing something different. Let's take a dive into the spookiest holiday of the year with some history and interesting facts. The jack-o'-lantern might just be the most famous visual associated with Halloween. Every year, people of all ages rush to find the perfect pumpkin to carve into anything from a simple, creepy, smiling face to truly elaborate feats of artistic work. Interestingly, the original jack-o'-lantern wasn't a pumpkin at all. The tradition traces back to an old Irish legend of a man called Stingy Jack, who invited the devil to have a drink with him. True to his name, Jack refused to pay for the drinks. Instead, he somehow convinced the devil to transform into a coin, which Jack would then use to pay for the drinks. And for some reason, the devil agreed. But instead of paying for the drinks, Jack grabbed the coin and put it in his pocket next to a small silver cross, thus trapping the devil in coin form. Eventually, Jack released the devil under two conditions: that he wouldn't bother him for the next year, and that when Jack died, the devil wouldn't claim his soul. A year later, the devil returned, but Jack tricked him again, this time by asking the devil to grab him an apple from a nearby tree. While the devil climbed the tree, Jack carved a cross into its trunk, trapping the devil once more. This time, Jack made him promise not to bother him for 10 more years. Years later, when Jack eventually died, he was turned away from heaven because of his lifetime of drinking, trickery, and stinginess. But the devil, bound by their agreement, couldn't claim his soul either. The devil sent Jack away, back to Earth, but Jack asked for something to light his path in the dark. As a final favor, the devil gave him a piece of burning coal from the fires of hell, which Jack placed inside a turnip he carried in his pocket. Ever since, Jack's restless soul has been doomed to roam the earth with only a turnip lantern to guide him. Over time, the name Stingy Jack evolved into Jack of the Lantern, and eventually Jack-o'-lantern. In honor of this legend, people in Ireland and Scotland carved turnips and placed them on their windows during Halloween. Others used potatoes, and in England, beets were the popular choice. When the tradition made its way to the United States, pumpkin carving became the preferred custom due to the abundance of pumpkins. Now let's talk about trick or treat. This beloved tradition can be traced back thousands of years to the Celtic festival of Samhain. Celebrated during the last days of October and the first days of November, Samhain marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of the darkest part of the year. It was also believed to be a time when the veil between the physical world and the spirit world was at its thinnest. Celebrations included bonfires, wearing masks, feasting, and indulging in excessive drinking. People dressed up as ghosts and monsters to blend in and avoid being recognized by wandering spirits. In addition, poor children would go door to door during Samhain, and families would offer them pastries called soul cakes in exchange for prayers for the souls of their departed loved ones. The trick aspect of trick or treat may also stem from the tradition of children dressing as monsters and performing tricks at the doors they visited. Did you know there's a specific name for the fear of Halloween? It's called Samhainophobia. Spooky love. There are many sources claiming you might find your true love using simple tricks, many of which involve fruit. For example, bobbing for apples. Historically, women would mark apples with their teeth while bobbing, and if a man caught the same apple, they were said to have found their perfect romantic match. Another tradition involved women peeling an apple and throwing the peel behind their shoulders. The fallen piece was said to form the letter of their future love's name. Illegal costumes. In Alabama, it's illegal to dress up as a priest, nun, or any other religious figure. This law, established in the 1960s under the Alabama Code, imposes a $500 fine or potential jail time for violators. The cost. Halloween is the second most commercially successful holiday in the United States, beaten only by, you guessed it, Christmas. 1/4 of all candy sold annually is for Halloween. When you factor in costumes and decorations, the National Retail Federation estimated that Americans spent around $9 billion on Halloween in 2018. Interestingly, men spend more on Halloween than women. After all, that cool Assassin's Creed costume isn't cheap. Halloween lunacy. A full moon coincides with Halloween only a few times per century. 2020 was one of those rare occurrences, with the next full moon on Halloween set to happen in 2039. The bonfire. As part of Samhain tradition, people would light large fires using crops and animals from that year's bounty. With Samhain symbolizing the end of the old year and the start of a new one, the fires were a way to mark this transition and promote blessings for the upcoming year. The flames represented the return of the sun after winter. The name bonfire comes from the bones of cattle used to fuel the fire. Originally called bonefire, it later shortened to bonfire. Halloween in the USA. In the US, Halloween is celebrated with unique events across various cities. In Salem, Massachusetts, the Haunted Happenings Festival is a month-long event filled with parades, ghost tours, and witch-themed attractions. Salem's spooky history makes it a perfect fit for Halloween. New Orleans hosts the Crew of Boo, Halloween parade, bringing the city's vibrant culture and voodoo history to life with floats, parties, and celebrations in the French Quarter. In West Hollywood, California, the West Hollywood Halloween Carnival is one of the largest Halloween street parties, where hundreds of thousands gather in elaborate costumes to enjoy live entertainment. Sleepy Hollow, New York, embraces its connection to the legend of Sleepy Hollow with haunted hayrides, cemetery tours, and headless horseman reenactments, making it a favorite for fans of classic horror. At Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, Halloween Horror Nights features movie-quality haunted houses and scare zones based on famous horror films and TV shows. New York City celebrates with the massive Village Halloween Parade in Greenwich Village, where participants and spectators enjoy incredible costumes, puppets, dancers, and musicians. In Anoka, Minnesota, the self-proclaimed Halloween capital of the world, festivities include parades, pumpkin carving contests, and other community-centered events, a tradition dating back to 1920. The creatures of the night. Witches have been a symbol of Halloween for centuries, often depicted as old women with pointy hats, black cats, and broomsticks. This imagery dates back to medieval Europe, where witches were believed to possess magical powers and were associated with dark forces. The broomstick is commonly linked to the idea of witches performing rituals or traveling between worlds. Black cats are another classic Halloween symbol. They've been associated with witches since ancient times, when cats were thought to be witches' familiars, spiritual helpers, or even witches in disguise. During the Middle Ages, black cats were believed to bring bad luck, a superstition that persists in some cultures today. However, in some places, like the UK, black cats are actually considered symbols of good fortune. Bats are often featured in Halloween decorations due to their nocturnal habits and eerie presence. Their connection to Halloween also stems from vampire folklore. In many legends, vampires could transform into bats, further cementing their place in spooky imagery. Interestingly, real bats play a vital role in many ecosystems by helping control insect populations. Spiders are another creature commonly linked to Halloween. Their webs create an abandoned, creepy atmosphere, which adds to the spooky vibe. In folklore, spiders were sometimes seen as omens of good luck, especially in older European superstitions. However, in the context of Halloween, they are typically used to evoke fear.